Welcome back to Coin Lover and Treasure Hunter. Today, we're taking a look at two common Canadian pennies that might be worth way more than you think. That's right, your 1995 and 1998 Canadian 1-cent coins could be hiding some amazing era varieties and high-value surprises. Some of these pennies have sold for hundreds, and even thousands, of dollars at auction. So grab your coin jar, get a magnifying glass, and let's uncover the rare features that make these little copper coins worth big money. Let's get started. First up, why does this coin have no mint mark? In Canadian coinage, most circulating coins produced after the early 1900s do not carry a mint mark unless the Royal Canadian Mint uses special markings for composition changes or commemorative issues. By 1995, regular circulation cents were produced mainly at the Winnipeg Mint, which typically did not place a mint mark on everyday denominations. So if your 1995 Canadian cent has no mint mark, that is completely normal for its production year. This isn't an error coin, rather, it's the standard format, but collectors still value high-grade pieces because the cent has been discontinued in Canada since 2012, increasing long-term interest. Now let's talk composition. The 1995 Canadian 1-cent coin is made of 98.4% zinc with a 1.6% copper plating, a change introduced in 1997, but the 1995 issue is part of an earlier shift away from solid bronze. These coins have a mass of 2.5 grams and measure 19.05 millimeters in diameter. Over time, their copper coating can tone beautifully, exhibiting red, red-brown, or brown coloration depending on storage. Collectors prize cents that retain a strong original red finish, especially when the coin has never been circulated. Uncirculated examples with full red luster can look stunning under the light and earn higher grades from certification services like ICCS or PCGS. As far as mintage numbers go, the 1995 penny is not rare. Tens of millions were produced, more than enough to meet circulation demand across the country. Its commonness is exactly why circulated examples typically hold only face value to most collectors. But rarity isn't the only factor affecting value. The condition of a coin can dramatically affect how much someone is willing to pay. In the world of coin collecting, a pristine, uncirculated coin, often described as MS-60, MS-63, or even MS-65 and above, can stand out dramatically compared to worn examples from the same year. That means if your coin is truly uncirculated, with sharp details and bright luster, it has greater collector appeal. So what does uncirculated really mean? An uncirculated coin should show no wear whatsoever on the high points, no rubbing, smoothing, or loss of detail. The relief of the maple leaves on the reverse should still have sharp, crisp edges, and the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse should retain its original texture and design definition. If your 1995 cent looks flawless under magnification, with no contact marks or discoloration, you may have a coin in the higher mint state range. And those, while still not rare, can bring far more interest from collectors looking to complete a perfect date run of Canadian cents. Now for the question everyone is waiting for. What is the value of a 1995 Canadian 1-cent coin with no mint mark in uncirculated condition? For most uncirculated examples, not certified, but well kept in flips or holders, you're generally looking at a value of about 25 to 35 cents. That might not seem like a lot at first, but remember, this is for a coin once worth a single penny. In truly exceptional condition, with brilliant red luster, no spots, and the potential to grade MS-65 or higher, the value can rise to around $1 or slightly more, especially to collectors who value high-grade modern Canadian coins. Bulk lots of about 30 uncirculated 1995 cents can sometimes bring $5 to $10 depending on the market and buyer interest. While this isn't a coin that will make you rich overnight, it is a perfect example of how small, common pieces of currency can carry long-term collectible value. Many collectors assemble full sets of Canadian cents from 1920 to 2012, and finding pristine examples of the more modern dates can be surprisingly challenging. Coins from the 1990s were heavily circulated, tossed into drawers, and not often saved in mint condition. So if you have a stash of about 30 uncirculated 1995 cents, you actually have a small group that could appeal to collectors building mint-state rolls or seeking upgrade pieces for their albums. Another interesting detail is the shift in public sentiment around the penny. Since Canada ended production in 2012, interest in the denomination has increased as collectors rush to preserve the last decades of the cent's existence. Even though the 1995 issue is not rare, it represents part of the final era of penny production. As more collectors enter the hobby and as high-grade examples become harder to find in circulation, the prices for uncirculated coins may experience slow, steady growth. For collectors who like to think long-term, holding on to mint-state modern cents could be surprisingly rewarding. Now, if you're watching this and wondering how to grade or store your uncirculated cents for maximum preservation, consider using mylar flips, airtight capsules, or non-PVC holders. These will help protect the delicate copper surface from oxidation, fingerprints, and unwanted spotting. Also, avoid storing copper coins in humid or acidic environments, as they can tone unevenly over time. Proper storage today can make a significant difference in the future grade and value of your coins. And if you're considering selling or certifying them, remember that third-party grading is usually only worthwhile for coins likely to grade MS-65 or higher. Thanks for joining me in today's deep dive into the Canadian 1995 1-cent coin without a mint mark. Even though it isn't a rare error or high-value rarity, its story, appearance, and collectible potential make it a fascinating piece of Canadian numismatic history, especially in true uncirculated condition. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to explore more videos about Canadian coins, era coins, rarity analysis, and hidden treasures in everyday change, make sure to subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment about which coin you'd like me to cover next. Your support helps the channel grow and keeps this kind of in-depth numismatic, and I'll see you in the next up. The Canadian 1-cent coin, commonly called the penny, was minted from 1858 until it was officially discontinued for distribution in 2013. The 1998 version belongs to the so-called small cent series, 19.05 millimeters in diameter, weighing 2.25 g, copper-plated zinc composition. The reverse design shows two maple leaves on the same twig by designer G. E. Kruger Gray, while the obverse shows Queen Elizabeth II, portrait by Dora de Pedery Hunt. For the 1998 coin with no mint mark, the mintage, circulation strike, is listed at approximately 999,578,000 pieces. This means a very large number of them were made, which immediately tells us something about how scarce or not the coin is for everyday circulation. Because of that high mintage, a normal 1998 no-mint mark penny in circulated condition is quite common. In Canada, the mint mark system works a bit differently from some other countries. For this period, many coins bear no special letter or mint mark for circulation strikes. They were struck at the Ottawa facility of Royal Canadian Mint. The W mint mark, for Winnipeg, is used on some special issues. For instance, the 1998 W with a W mark is a special variant, not the standard no mint mark version. So when you say 1998 no mint mark, you are referring to the standard circulation strike 1. The condition of the coin is crucial. We differentiate between circulated, used, and uncirculated, mint-state coins. For the 1998 no-mint mark penny, given the huge mintage, finding one in uncirculated condition is still fairly common compared to rarer issues. According to the price guide at coinsincanada.com, for MS-64, mint state 64, the value is about $7 and MS-65 is about $21 So yes, uncirculated coins do command a premium over face value, but they are not extremely rare. When we look at current market values, the same source lists for MS-66 about $33.60. But you'll also find coins with very special surfaces or errors fetching higher amounts. So what drives value? Several things: the coin's grade, condition, color, whether it's full red, luster, or red-brown, whether there are any die errors or unusual surfaces, and overall demand by collectors. Because the standard 1998 no-mint mark coin is so plentiful, the standard circulation strike in circulated condition is worth very little above face value, perhaps only a few cents to $1 in many cases. If you're serious about collecting Canadian coins, especially ones like this one, it can be very helpful to subscribe to specialist websites or newsletters, for example, the one mentioned on coinsincanada.com. They publish up-to-date price guide information, auction results, varieties, and errors. Furthermore, you might consider joining coin collecting forums or groups where people discuss varieties, for example, those with planchet errors, die chips, etc. For the 1998 no-mint mark 1 cent, the community lists a number of errors and varieties, die chips, cracks, etc. Being part of such a subscription or community helps you know when a coin is just common or if it truly has something distinctive. Here are some quick tips if you have or are looking for a 1998 no-mint mark Canadian penny. Look closely at the date, 1998, and check for any doubling or die irregularities. Examine the surfaces. Is the copper plating intact and lustrous? Are there spots of wear or tone? Check the reverse maple leaf twig design for sharpness of strike. Higher grade coins will have crisp detail. See if there are unusual planchet defects, for example, deficient plating, die cracks, etc. The community listing notes some of these. If you are buying or selling, consider having the coin graded by a reputable grading service, which provides a certification for uncirculated condition. Store your coins properly, in a dry environment, away from handling, to maintain uncirculated appearance. You specifically mentioned, perhaps you meant, uncirculated, condition, or a batch of 30 coins. If you have 30 uncirculated 1998 no-mint mark pennies, the value per coin at a moderate uncirculated grade, say MS64 to MS65, might be roughly $7 Canadian to $22 Canadian each, based on a guide. So 30 coins could be 30 times maybe $15 Canadian, as a rough average equals $450 Canadian dollars, at a modest grade. But that's a ballpark estimate. Actual value could be higher or lower depending on exact grade. If some of them are MS66 or show error features, value could go up. Conversely, if they're borderline or touched, value goes down. Also consider the currency conversion to your local currency, Pakistani rupees, or other markets. The 1998 Canadian 1 cent coin with no mint mark is a nice collectible piece, but it's not super rare, due to the high mintage. If you have one in fantastic condition and perhaps with an interesting error, you might have something worth more than face value. If you're working with a batch, like 30 coins, you could potentially have something of value, but don't expect huge premiums unless condition is excellent or there are recognized varieties or errors. If you enjoyed this overview, please give a like, subscribe for more numismatic content, and leave a comment. Do you have one of these coins? What condition is it in? I'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for watching.